Emily is experiencing significant emotional distance within her long-term relationship and is struggling to question its future stability. Recently exposed to new social experiences, she feels a strong pull toward novelty and excitement, causing her to doubt her initial commitment to her boyfriend Liam. Emotionally, she presents as thoughtful and anxious, grappling with whether she should maintain her current relationship or explore other possibilities. This internal conflict leaves her feeling disconnected and unsure about what path is truly best for her. She came to us to help her develop some clarity about her future direction. I'm Bryce Burrows. Welcome to Emotional Bites. The research here says that humans are naturally drawn to the comfort of routine, yet we are simultaneously pulled toward the excitement of the unknown. This internal tension is partly biological, as novelty triggers a powerful sense of reward, while familiarity can lead to restlessness. Feeling bored or desiring change in a long-term relationship is a common and normal experience. To maintain a healthy partnership, the key is to balance deep emotional connection with shared adventures and the freedom of individual exploration. Today, this is discussed by Lola Adams and Monica Dean.
Thanks a lot, Bryce. Welcome, listeners and lurkers. I'm Lola Adams, helper to the chronically frustrated and emotionally unstable. Today, we're diving into that painful, confusing moment when the thrill of new love starts to fade, and suddenly you find yourself eyeing the exit door like a prisoner staring at the light of freedom. What do you think about this, Monica?
Hi, Lola. I see this all the time. It's the classic case of, I know he's wonderful, but I need more space. Or the dreaded, it's not you, it's me. Hey, we've all been there. 3 years of stable partnership, solid communication, reasonable compatibility. And then one day your brain decides to go into full-blown panic mode because the routine is suddenly intolerable.
Monica, I swear if one more of my clients shows up citing emotional boredom as their reason for cheating or breaking up, I think I'm going to scream.
Ah, the dreaded B word. In a world obsessed with constant stimulation, it's become a mortal sin in relationships. It's like clockwork. Your other half starts talking and your stomach drops with the realization that you'd rather text that cute guy from the book club than have another conversation about your partner's work stress.
Yeah, then you start mentally cataloging all the things you're missing out on in the world, convinced that happiness equals constantly expanding your options. This is a classic case study, really. 3 years of stability and security in Emily and Liam's relationship have stripped away all the delicious uncertainty of the beginning. There's no more late night texting, wondering if she'll hear from him. There's no more awkward dates to see if there's chemistry. So all the things that used to drive her crazy when she was dating are now all the things she craves.
Lola, I hear this from my clients every single day. And let me tell you, it's not just a millennial problem. This whole should I stay or should I go now scenario is as old as time itself, really.
Your brain and your biology are designed to constantly be scanning for potential threats, dangers, and possibilities. It's the same part of your brain that once helped your ancestors figure out if that shadow moving through the jungle was a predator or a friend.
Yeah, it's your amygdala on overdrive. And when it comes to long-term relationships, it starts asking questions like, is this it? Is there something better? Am I missing out? Am I settling? And the worst part, those what-if thoughts can feel just as urgent and important as any real-world threat. And they're really hard to ignore.
I think where people get stuck is believing that this discomfort is a sign of incompatibility, when in reality it's just our protector and our free spirit in collaboration. We're designed to crave newness, to be fascinated by the mystery, intrigued by the unknown. And then we enter into these long-term relationships and suddenly we're supposed to be content with the familiar. It's like putting a cat in a cardboard box and expecting it not to be bored and not to want to jump out.
The truth is, a certain level of restlessness is actually healthy. The real work is figuring out how to integrate that need for novelty and excitement with the deeper commitment you've made. It's learning to find that thrill in exploring new sides of your partner, in pushing yourselves to try new things as a couple, in deepening your connection through shared experiences.
You're spot on about it being a biological drive more than a moral issue. And the thing is, We have to be careful not to pathologize this natural desire for novelty. I see so many couples get into arguments because one person is feeling bored and the other interprets it as rejection. But what they need to understand is that boredom in a long-term relationship is actually a sign of the relationship maturing. It's the realization that you can't sustain the chemical high of infatuation forever.
Absolutely. This idea that we have to be obsessed with our partner at all times is unrealistic. Healthy relationships should allow for independent sources of excitement and fulfillment. Although it's great to have similar interests, it shouldn't be at the expense of our individuality.
You can love someone deeply and still need a weekend away by yourself or a girls' trip to Vegas every now and then. But Emily's generation has this weird idea that true commitment means giving up all your individual interests to become a single unit. Here's the hard truth. No one is ever going to be able to fulfill all your emotional needs 100% of the time. You need to be comfortable spending time in your own head, pursuing hobbies and interests that nourish you independent of your partner.
The problem is when we start using boredom as an excuse for not doing the work, then poor communication or unresolved issues really start taking a toll on the relationship container. A lot of my clients come in and say, I'm bored, I need to leave, or I want an open relationship. The thing is, that's the pendulum swinging too far to the right. And the first thing I have to say is, whoa, let's rein things in a bit here.
And Monica, let's be real here. Your 20s are for a certain type of exploration and experimentation. The idea that you should just settle into a comfortable routine with your partner in your early 30s is a pretty recent social construct. We're in this weird moment where we expect long-term relationships to function like they did for our parents or grandparents, but we don't have the cultural supports for it. There used to be roles you just drop into to make it all work. But we've had 75 years of social change, and those roles don't exist anymore. So we've lost the nuance that used to sustain these long-term relationships.
The cultural pressure. It's a killer. And I think that's where a lot of the anxiety comes from. We're bombarded with these unrealistic ideals about relationships being this constant state of butterflies and excitement, and then we feel like failures when that adrenaline fades. It's like we've been conditioned to believe that if you don't have the same new relationship energy after 3 years, you're doing it completely wrong.
So here's what I tell my clients. Comfort isn't the enemy of intimacy. In fact, true intimacy can only exist in the presence of some level of comfort. The real challenge is finding a balance between the excitement of discovery and the deep-rooted security of knowing someone intimately. And that takes work, which is why so many people are scared to sign up for it.
I also think we need to be careful about not conflating boredom with incompatibility. I see this all the time. Emily came in thinking her relationship is doomed because she didn't feel that spark anymore. But a spark is intense, then it fades. That's the nature of a spark. What you really need is a new source of ignition inside the relationship. The lazy way is to look outside the relationship to find a new spark, rather than committing to the hard work of striking the relationship flint again and again. But let me tell you, the fire of passion isn't easy. It takes hard work, you know?
That's so true. And that's why I think this whole narrative of finding your person, your soulmate, is so damaging. It's a cultural narrative that's created to explain the chemistry we feel when our need to be the center of someone's world is fulfilled. I think Hollywood and romance novels and TV and the like are partly to blame for all this. So what happens is that we think that when this feeling fades or it feels like it's gone, that maybe we didn't find the right person after all. So our novelty system, that free spirit character that sits in us all, it starts looking around. It's keeping an eye out for that special someone who can supply us with that feeling, that chemistry, that spark that we think we're craving. It's looking outside the relationship to resolve that uncomfortable boredom that we're feeling.
That's all completely true, Lola. But you know what else is to blame? We also set these impossibly high expectations for our partners to fulfill all of our needs, and then we're shocked when they inevitably disappoint us. It's like expecting one person to be your best friend, your therapist, your entertainment provider, your career advisor, your everything.
That's a lot of pressure to put on any relationship, that's for sure. The healthiest relationships are the ones where you and your partner are more like allies than possessions. You support each other in pursuing your individual interests and passions, and then come together to share those experiences. It's a much more sustainable model than the old you complete me codependency dream.
I have to say, I'm glad we're finally having more open conversations about this. For so long, admitting to boredom in your relationship was considered this huge failure or a sign that something must be majorly wrong. But what we can do is to look at it as a signal that you need to do some digging around in your own backyard. We've created this culture where boredom is seen as the ultimate relationship killer, when in reality, it's just a sign that you need to grow as individuals.
True, and your partner shouldn't be your ball and chain. Some of the problem is really about the language we use about relationships. Language is reflective of what we understand about something and the meaning that we make about it. So in order to change our language and change our perceptions, we need to change both our understanding and the meanings we give to the people and dynamics we see in our lives. This is the essence of what therapists do. They give people new stories to work with.
Absolutely, I always love creating those new narratives. It's so satisfying. I also think there's a lot of pressure to make long-term relationships return to like they were in the first few months, and that's just unrealistic. The excitement of dating is built on mystery and discovery, but in a long-term relationship, you're not uncovering new information about your partner every day. Your goal is to deepen your understanding of them over time. It's a different kind of mystery.
It sure is. Mature relationships are less Scooby-Doo and more Agatha Christie. But you know what else is important? As the people inside the relationship are growing and developing and changing over time, the rules of the relationship need to evolve as well. And working through that evolution requires a lot of communication and vulnerability, which is why so many people find it intimidating. It's easier to just accept the boredom than to have an uncomfortable conversation about your needs and values. To be honest, most people never even stop to consider what their true needs and values even are. It's just not something we think about every day.
I also think there's a big difference between boredom and complacency. If you're bored because you've stopped trying, that's on you. And if you're bored because you feel like you know everything about your partner and they don't challenge you anymore, then it's also on you to inject some newness. Maybe that newness can be as simple as trying a new hobby together or having a conversation about something you've never discussed before.
I love that you framed it as boredom versus complacency. Your distinction is key there. Complacency is when we settle for the easy path of familiarity. But boredom is when we recognize that the relationship has plateaued and we need to push beyond our comfort zones. And I think that's where a lot of couples get stuck. They confuse familiarity with intimacy and then wonder why they don't feel excited anymore.
Yes, I also think it's important to remember that the feeling of boredom can actually be a catalyst for growth. Instead of seeing it as a problem to be fixed, we could reframe it as an invitation to explore new aspects of ourselves and our relationships. It's like hitting a plateau in your fitness routine. Your body gets used to the same exercises, so you need to increase the intensity or try something new. And in the same way, your relationship needs regular doses of novelty to stay stimulating.
We have to frame boredom as a reason to get curious about what our feelings are telling us, rather than rushing to conclusions like we're incompatible, my relationship is doomed, or my partner is boring. It's a story, yeah, but it's more nuanced than that. A relationship is a co-creation, so you have some responsibility in managing it. And it's not a fixed, unchangeable entity, you know?
It's not. And viewing it as a thing rather than a dynamic system is what leads people into this mindset of thinking it's faulty. That's how we think about goods that we return to the shop, not something as fluid as a relationship. I think a lot of this comes down to our need for certainty and security. We want to know that we've made the right choice, so we start to idealise the fantasy of what we think a partnership should look like, and then we get disappointed when reality doesn't match up. But the truth is, long-term love is messy, unpredictable, and sometimes boring, but it's also incredibly beautiful in its own way. We spend so much time imagining that everyone else has this flawless relationship, but really we're all just figuring it out.
You know, The grass is always greener because everyone's lawn has weeds you can't see from a distance. Boredom is just a sign to look into yourself. It's not a verdict on your relationship. And Monica, you're so wise to point out that long-term love is inherently messy. We have to be willing to sit with the uncomfortable parts and not let them derail us.
I also think there's a real fear of abandonment that comes into play here. If we start to feel bored, we might panic and think our partner will leave us for someone else who's more exciting. So we either start trying to generate evidence that help us deny that feeling or use it as an excuse to bail out. But what if we reframed it as an opportunity to be more vulnerable?
Yeah, I've worked with a lot of couples who, when they really got honest about their boredom, discovered that they both wanted to shake things up but were afraid of losing the other person. Once they gave each other permission to be honest about their needs and desires, even if it was uncomfortable, they were able to create a much more open and enjoyable dynamic.
Couples need to get real with each other. And the thing is, when we're scared of losing our partner, we often try to be the perfect, easygoing person we think they want, but that's not sustainable. We end up playing roles instead of being ourselves, and then we wonder why we don't feel connected.
I've seen this play out in my practice so many times. This couple comes in both feeling bored and disconnected, but when I start digging, it turns out they're terrified of saying what they really want because they think it will be a deal breaker. And then they spend years in this cage of unspoken expectations, slowly growing apart while maintaining this facade of happiness.
Yes, Lola, I can absolutely relate to that. The fear of rocking the boat is so powerful. It's like we get stuck in these patterns because we're so scared of losing the person we think we know. We almost don't want them to change, even though we find the dynamic uncomfortable.
I also think there's a lot of shame around admitting to boredom, especially for women. We're socialized to believe that if we're not constantly thrilled with our partner, we're failing as a girlfriend or a wife. And then we feel guilty about wanting more, like we should be grateful just to have a stable relationship.
Every couple experiences boredom, dissatisfaction, and moments of questioning. It's not a sign of incompatibility, it's just the reality of being human.
I also think we need to redefine what we mean by exciting. Excitement isn't about having new people in your life all the time. It's about having a deep, authentic connection with your partner that allows you to keep discovering new layers of each other. The thrill of knowing someone intimately and still being fascinated by them is, hands down, the most exciting feeling in the world.
I think you hit the nail on the head there. Deep connection is the ultimate excitement, and I love how you reframed it as an ongoing process of discovery, not a one-time event. It's like peeling back the layers of an onion, each revelation making you appreciate your partner even more.
True, true. Sometimes we get so comfortable in our routines and patterns that any deviation feels threatening, even if it's something that could potentially lead to greater intimacy and connection.
The more you peel back the layers, the richer the relationship becomes. And that takes a level of courage that so few people are willing to cultivate. It's easier to bail out and start over with someone new than it is to do the hard work of transforming your current connection.
I think that's what separates the couples who make it from those who don't. Sometimes the boredom enables the couple to avoid being vulnerable. There's an unwillingness to be uncomfortable for the sake of growth. You have to be willing to sit in the discomfort of not knowing, of being unsure, and trust that your commitment will see you through to the other side.
In my experience, the couples who survive are the ones who can tolerate those feelings of uncertainty. And I think that's what a lot of people find so frightening about long-term relationships, the unknowns of the future when you've already invested so much.
But when you really commit to staying with someone through all of it, the boredom, the excitement, the mundane moments, and the life-changing events, your love has a chance to become something truly extraordinary. It's like a fine wine. Your relationship gets better with age, not worse.
And I think that's what so many people miss. The secret to being attracted to your partner, even after years of being together, is not about having a constant rush of newness. It's about finding deeper and more profound ways to appreciate each other.
The real secret to a successful long-term relationship is the ability to laugh at the same joke 3 million times. Seriously, though, I can think of one advantage about the monotony of a long-term relationship. There's a certain comfort in knowing that you don't have to be switched on all the time, that you can just be yourself and still find acceptance. It's like having your own personal sanctuary with another person.
That's beautiful, Lola. Some people might feel that they want to recapture the excitement of the beginning, but what they really crave is the profound sense of belonging that comes from being truly known.
Your partner should be your best friend. If you can't sit on the couch with them and just be quiet, if you can't share your deepest fears and insecurities without judgment, then you don't have the foundation for lasting love.
In the end, romance is nice, but it's friendship that keeps you going through the ups and downs of life. And the best way to maintain that friendship is by continuing to put in the effort, even when you don't feel like it.
I also think there's a lot of pressure on couples to be perfect, but what we really need is acceptance. We need to be able to show up as our messy, imperfect selves and know that we will still be appreciated. And that level of emotional vulnerability is the foundation of any truly intimate relationship.
Acceptance is key. It's so powerful. You can't build a strong relationship on a foundation of pretense or performance. It has to be rooted in a deep acceptance of each other's flaws and imperfections. And that's not easy because we're all so deeply invested in presenting our best selves to the world.
That's so right, Monica. When you can be your authentic self with someone, your insecure, messy, imperfect self, and it still feels safe, that's when you know you found a truly rare connection. It's like coming home to yourself through another person.
I hear you. Coming home to yourself, that analogy is so profound. I love it. It's not about finding your other half. It's about finding someone who helps you embrace all the fractured, conflicting parts of who you are. And that's a lifelong process of integration and acceptance right there before you even consider everything else.
I also think there's a lot of power in being able to say, your happiness matters as much as mine. In a truly healthy relationship, both partners are committed to each other's growth and fulfillment, even if it means making sacrifices or compromises. It's not about winning or losing, it's about finding a way to thrive together.
Mutual commitment to each other's happiness is so important. A partnership is a joint venture of two separate people working toward common goals while also pursuing their own individual dreams. It's not about losing yourself in the relationship. It's about finding new ways to expand and evolve with another person.
I also think that's where a lot of couples get stuck. They think they have to change themselves or their partner to be happy. But what they really need is to learn how to be happy together. And that's a skill that takes time and practice to develop.
I agree, Lola. What I said to Emily was that learning to be happy together is a skill that needs to be cultivated. We're not born knowing how to be in long-term relationships. We have to learn through trial and error and lots of honest conversations. We really do.
That's where the real magic happens, the moments when you both choose each other over and over again, even when it would be easier to quit. It's not about some grand gesture or dramatic proclamation. It's about the little things, like remembering their coffee. I do hope she gave Liam a chance, but at the same time, I hope she really found herself as well.
In the end, I helped Emily and Liam have some honest and open conversations, and they found out that they both had a desire to travel around Europe, which they did. Unfortunately, Emily decided she wanted to stay in Germany for a while. Liam got really homesick, so they parted ways. I saw Liam in Tesco's a while back. Emily became a BDSM porn star in Belgium, while Liam went back to being a carpenter back in Urmston. They're still good friends and catch up on the phone from time to time.
That's lovely. Annika, I've really enjoyed talking with you today on this subject, all the way from your home in Manchester. We've found a lot of common ground. It's been quite heartwarming. I hope I can visit your beautiful city sometime.
I'm glad to be here, Lola. It's been good to talk to you again. Maybe I could take you to see Manchester City at the football, or maybe I could join you in Manhattan sometime for a Cosmopolitan. I really hope our listeners found something that they could use today.
Monica, I'll just pause to tell you about my brother before we go. He proposed to a woman he met at the zoo. He said he thought she was a keeper.
You're so funny, Lola.
We're here to help as always. Wrap us up, Bryce.
Behind the Bites is a production of NW Studios. Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and send this podcast to someone who you think might need a bit of relationship wisdom. Stay safe, stay granular, and stay curious. Until next time, remember, the grass may well be greener on the other side, but it's worth watering if what you've already got is good soil.